All right, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I got a little bit distracted just messing with some styling and stuff. Um, but it looks like we started on time, and that's okay. Anyway, yeah, welcome Sunday morning. Yesterday I didn't stream. Um, there was just a lot of stuff going on, and I needed I needed a rest. So I mentioned on Friday, on my socials that I will be traveling to Australia. Um, so a week from, well, actually, I'll be flying a week from today. I get on a plane Saturday, and then due to the way that travel works and the international dateline, I land in Australia on Monday morning. Um, and so it's a lot of long travel and stuff like that. So I needed to get some stuff done yesterday, um, that would allow the international travel. I'm still dealing with so I'm flying Delta, and I wanted to upgrade my seats from for the portion of the flight from LAX to Sydney. It's a 15-hour flight, and I wanted to upgrade my seats to to be able to recline and have a potentially be able to sleep. Winds up being 26 hours of travel, with all the layovers and stuff by the time I touch down in Sydney. So I need to sleep somewhere in that time. Um, and so I was trying to upgrade my seats. I learned that if you use the Delta website to upgrade, sometimes the Delta website times out. So it leaves a hold on your credit card for the amount of the money. Um, and I'm still dealing with that hold, trying to get my seats upgraded, because I'm using a company credit card, and so I have a specific amount of budget, and that hold is holding up my budget, and it's just a mess. Travel is fun, but learning a whole bunch of stuff about Australia and things like that, and lots of good advice from everybody. Um, really looking forward to it though. Just going and experiencing something new, I guess. Um, let's see. I was taking a look at what we're doing with these inputs. There's a there was something I found as I was um, messing around with this that we might take a look at. So the input focus, they turn the outline to transparent. Um, if we were to do something like HSL, let's do, I don't know, zero. Um, we'll do 0 degrees, 0%, and we'll do like 34% lightness. Let's bring that. What I'm trying to do, maybe 50% lightness, and we'll do like a slash 50%. What I really want, um, just a really subtle outline of the actual input. And I think something like that would look good. And it's something that we could, yeah. So on our input, we could do the input focus. Um, we could definitely do something like that. Um, my wife's looking for a dog. She was up a lot of the night. She was throwing up a lot last night. It looks like either she had a reaction to one of the toys we gave her, um, or she. We're not sure. But anyway, she's making chicken and rice so the dog will eat because we feel bad for her. Um, yeah, this I think this will look good because if we do this, then we get a subtle outline here. Um, and I'm just really curious. What if we give it it's like 35%? No, it's red. Way too much red. Definitely don't want the red. So we don't want any saturation in it. But I'm just trying to figure out like how much lightness should we give it so that it doesn't. We definitely want it to be like a light gray, but I do think we're um, gonna need some sort of alpha blend on it. Just want it to be light. And I don't want to get too stuck in this, but I think that helps to fix this issue where it's hard to tell what you're editing and what you're not. Um, so what if we, yeah. So we're going to modify Daisy just slightly to um, give us this effect. I also am realizing that that means we're going to need to put the max width on these because it's showing, and we can see that it looks like it appears to. Oh, you know what? I wonder if that's the point of the grow. Um, so let's go make that change really quick. Um, and then we're going to jump into um, what do we do with state, right? Because we're at a point now, and you know what? I've been talking the whole time. I hadn't transitioned over. Let's get that going. Um, oh, one other thing I wanted to mention. The whole reason we're doing this is for the Tiny Comp. So I will be streaming today and tomorrow. If I need to stream Tuesday to finish this up, we'll stream Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm going to be just touching up the slides and stuff, doing last minute prep for that. And then on Thursday, we're doing TinyConf. And so come join us for TinyConf. It's going to be a good day. Hey, Marcus, welcome to the stream, Matt. Speak of TinyConf, and Marcus joins. Marcus is one of the organizers of TinyConf. We help out Adi, who is TinyConf is his. He gets it ready. He sets a lot. Marcus and we try to help out where possible. But one of the big perks of that is that we get to spend time. Why am I seeing this? I don't know. Okay. But we get to spend time, kind of DJing. I don't know. MCing is probably the right one. Yeah, absolutely. Join us for TinyConf. And if you've got a link for that, Marcus, I went and looked because people were asking at work the other day, and all the links I had, um, well, the stuff all showed 2023. Um, so, but it's going to be a good day. It's a long day for Adi, Marcus, and I. We all go like it. It winds up being, I don't know. I think we're looking at 10 to 12 hours this time. Um, which is that's a good amount of time to be just um, online and streaming and just doing stuff. So um, we're looking forward to it though. Okay, got input bordered flags. They did add. a grow to this. Um, and then the other thing we should do is, and so to get this to work, what we want to do, we want to go to styles.css. And that's the interesting thing about Tailwind and just this approach in general. I find I use global styles a lot more. So here we can just do dot input, and then we need to do input focus. And so when we're focused, we're going to go grab that stuff that we changed. So here, oh, did I break it? I did. Dang it, I should have copied that because now I have to go back and I just have to say active, focus, focus within, target, and focus visible. So these are all the classes that get set. Let's go ahead and try this out again. So it's 0 degrees. It was 45%, I think. No, 0% here. And then 45%. Let me do a slash 35%. Maybe that 45 isn't. I want it to be really subtle, but I really want it to stand out. So what if we do 20% and go to 75? That'll work. So we can copy this rule, and then we can go into our CSS and paste this rule. Take that off, take that off. And then because modern CSS allows us to nesting very similar to SCSS, right? You know what? We could probably even take the border down slightly in size. So now if we go take a look at this, there we go. Oh wait, it hasn't refreshed. There we go. I thought the grow would make it work, but let's go to Daisy UI really quick. So Daisy UI and our input component. And in our input component, actually, you know what? I should have looked at the themes and I should have looked at the dark theme. That's the one we're using. There should be some colors. So we're using the dark theme. They've got like a neutral color. Oh, maybe that's what we should use on that. I think what we could do is in our styles.css here, um, can we under utilities, color classes, um, yeah, the opacity. That's what we want to do. So if we do, we do border primary slash 35 or border neutral slash 35. I'm curious for 20. Let's try that really quick. I'm going to keep that in my paste buffer. But if we do border, I think we need to do theme. And here we can do colors dot neutral. I think we can do a slash 50 here or a slash 20 here. And that should work for us. So now if we go back, oh, we'll be back to analog soon. That might be a little too subtle. I don't even know if you can see that on YouTube. So let's give it a little bit of help. Let's go to like 35%. I did 25. Let's do 33, right? A third. Um, so if I add the active focus, so we are getting the neutral color. The 33% blend is probably too light. We can come over here. We can modify this 33. Bring it up to like, you just take that off. Maybe. Hmm. So I'm curious here. Whoops. Nope. What am I doing? Color mix that comma white. Um, I don't know, do 33%. And it's not color mix, it's mixed color. I don't know. We'll it's just a little too light. Um, what if we use the accent color? Or if we just did neutral content, neutral dash content. I don't want to get bogged down in this, but at the same time, I, ooh, that's way too bright. Um, but if we bring the alpha blend That one's too bright. We'll just use it as neutral. We just won't have that. And then honestly, if we just add a border radius of like 4 pixels, um, it's there. It's just really subtle, and that's what I'm. Oh, 0.5. So neutral content slash 0.5. Does that work? There we go. We did point 0.15, 0.2, 0.25, 0.33. There we go. Neutral content 0.33. And we're set. The only other thing I want to take a look at is if we go back to like the Daisy UI input, here, and we scroll down to the one we're using, so this one, and we inspect this other thing. Just want to turn this off for a bit. We'll leave it. So here's our input. Let's give it our active focus, focus within, target, and focus visible. And here, we'll just make this one. See, there's grows, I think. So they're adding the grow to the input class. So if we were to go back, on this input, type equals test. Let's go ahead and add a class. Add new class. We just want to add grow. It's just grow. There we go. So we've now added the grow class, and yeah. Okay, so that's what we're missing. So if I do include or I do input here, I think I can do at apply row. And that should give us what we want. Yes, it does. Okay, awesome. So we're done. Again, a little bit of styling. It is important to kind of get these things nailed down. Yeah, that works. Okay. So let's go ahead and we can discard this. This doesn't do anything for us. Discard these changes. And here, stage this. And we added some styles, make editing more obvious. Okay, there's a lot of other things I would like to do, but I don't want to get bogged down in all of that. So let's go back and take a look at we've got our store and we've got our component. Our component doesn't update the store at all, and we don't have anything to update the store with yet. And so I think that's a good place to start, is just how do we get data into the component, and how would we get data out of the component. So let's start there. How do we want to go about doing this? Because what I want to avoid, well, and maybe we do. What I want to avoid is having to add a ton of boilerplate to everything. Um, because what we could do is we could just say, hey, ng model change, right, equals update. And then in here, we could just add the event. But then we have to add ng model change for everything. But I have an idea. But for right now, let's start with this, right? So here we can say, hey, protected update. And here, this will be this update doesn't work because we don't know what it's for. We just get a VIN and we don't know that it's from the VIN field. So we could say value do I want to do this? So in the past, what we've typically done is tied it to the form that it's a part of. Because what I don't want to do is like have to do update bin, right? Um, and then here we would have to do, update year, and that just becomes a mess. I'm curious. Um, let's go take a look at ng model change. So we'll go to Angular dev. And here we can do ng model change. Let's try searching for that again. ng model change. Template-driven forms, validating form input, building a template-driven form, ng model, no, that's module, sharing modules, forms overview. It's probably going to be because this banana in a box binding is the shortcut for both of those. We could get a reference to the ng form. Oh, you know what? I haven't been thinking about this too much. Bro, are you not tired? What do you mean? You wish? Well, million watching your video? I don't get it. Anyway, I just realized we do need the form. Um, and that's going to make this a lot easier. That means we don't need the model changes. Because what we can do is we can use the form to get access to our data. Because when we add this will need to be inside of a form. And I think Rush Gaming, I think you might be. You might spamming me. Be careful with your messages, or I'll time you out. Or I'll have my moderator Mark. Well, guess what, Marcus? I haven't made you a mod on YouTube. I think you're only watching on Twitch, and that's fine. I may need to find some YouTube mods. Or I may need to switch to a streaming service that allows me to do both. A multi-stream service. So that is true. We need to get access to the form. Mhm. So yeah, I'm getting spammed. So um, sorry about this, guys. Is That's what I want. Put user in timeout. Get a 30-minute timeout. There you go. Sorry about that, everybody. I don't want tons of spam showing up everywhere. It's not helpful to me. It's not helpful to you. So what we can do is we can do a protected protected read only, and then we can get access to the form, and we can say, hey, we want a forward ref. I think we can just inject, and I got to remember, if we do it this way, forward ref, and I think this is how we get an access. We get access to the form, and so in the constructor, let's just add a console.log, and we'll just say vehicle info component form, and then this dot form. So there we go. There's our form. Oh, and I need an extra closing paren here. That should. So now when we go take a look at this, we're probably going to get an error because I haven't added a form. So if we go take a look at our console log, and we don't want the forms module. That's silly. We want ng form. Go ahead and import that. So this should give us a reference to the parents form module. And the child references the parent and the parent references the child. You could wind up in a, Um, I think the forward ref should do that. Now we're getting the null injector for ng form, which is what I expected. So if we go to our app component now, now our form, or our input requires a form. And here we just import the forms module. There we go. That should fix our null reference. And so now if we look at our form, we should be able to see that in our form value, we've got an object. So here, if I add this, ending is false, pristine is still true, valid is still valid. What I want to see, so if we inspect this, right? Here's our form. And then within our form, we've got labels and inputs. These should be adding themselves to the form. So if we come back to our vehicle input component, we should be able to say this dot form dot value. I think I'm doing the form wrong because it's not picking up the. I should be able to. Let's go read. So Angular get reference to parent form. Yeah, I don't want the view child. This is all just getting reference to the child. Let's see if this one. We're bright white. Yeah, creative basics of nested forms. Form is one monolithic component, very simple implementation. Look like this. Yeah, embedding the child in the parent, connecting the child to the parent. I don't want that form. And I don't want to use the reactive. I mean, I guess technically underneath we are, but I want to get a reference to the actual parent form. And this seems to be from child component. Yeah, here we go. This is saying to use an input. That's interesting. Um, that's not what I want to do. So we could nest a form. I don't want to spend too much time solving this. I know there's a way to do it, and I've done it in the past. I'm trying to remind myself what I did. Yeah, so here they're passing a form reference. Um, they're they're just passing the form group down. They're using add control, injecting the control container. So the control container. Control value accessor. I was hoping to avoid control value accessors. Especially because I only want, it might just be the need for a nested form. Because I only want to listen for changes within this form. And so we could add form, and yep, we'll do that. And down at the bottom, we just do slash form. And then instead of injecting it, what we can do is we can just say, hey, we're going to do a view child. No. Is it a view child? Yeah, it is. View child. And our view child is going to be dot required. And then we can actually say that it's an ng form. And I don't think ng forms. And here inside of this, we can say, we just grab ng form. And now we've got a reference, but this won't work anymore because, well, I can show you what happens, right? So, well, the first thing we can do is try to access the signal. And this is what's going to cause the problem. We'll work through the issues of nested forms when we get to it, but you'll see we aren't displaying anything. And if I hit, if I look at the console, see it's saying it's requiring that something be available. It's not available because the constructor doesn't have reference to it. So we can implement on after viewing it. That's not what I want. And I don't want the on, it's just after viewing it. We'll grab that. And here we can say that we want ng after viewing it. Boom. And that should solve our issue. NG modules used within a form. Oh yeah, now we need to name everything. So here we can just say name equals Vin. You know what? I just realized I'm missing something. Name equals make. There's a what do I want to call it? Name equals model and name equals stock number. There's a prettier plugin that I'm missing. Actually, there's probably a couple. I think I use a couple of prettier plugins, and we can look in like full stack dynos. And we're looking for our prettier RC right here. Bring this file over here. Nope. Didn't do it there, huh? Let's look at one other one. Did I do it here? Prettier RC. Yeah, here we go. So organize attributes and organize imports. Those are the two that I want. And that will allow me to turn off. So here I've got run on save. And inside of here, I've got optimize imports. We apply that and say, okay. And then just go here and we say prettier, organize imports. So this is one of them that we want, and the other one is we want attributes. Yeah. So those are the two that we want. We can shut this one down. Prettier, organize attributes. So organize attributes is really nice because it gives us the ability to have our HTML attributes always in the same order. And I always remember this when I'm like, what's the order that they should be in? Let's go ahead and shut this down really quick. And we're going to do this and then paste what I just copied. And that should add that one. So boom, we've got that. And now if we go here and we open up our .prettier RC, we need to add one more line. We need to add the plugins in here. So we just add a comma and then we say, hey, we want that. Boom. So that added that one. And we can see this one in action here. If we go back to our vehicle component and we save, let's try moving this here and then saving and not picking it up. Why isn't it picking it up? There we go. So you can see that it reordered the inputs to be a certain way. And there are ways that you can control it. But if we go to the NPM page here, and we look for Angular, so with Angular, it orders this way where we've got output, input, then the ifs, classes, and then two-way bindings. So it orders it. It's got a certain order, and we can change that order if we really cared about it, but I like the default order, so I'm going to leave it that way. The last one is organize imports. And organize imports just cleans up our imports and analyzes them based on TypeScript. So we'll go ahead and copy this. And we will also add this. Oh, they added the dash dash save dev. So we're good there. So the last thing we need to do is just go back into our plugins and make sure that we explicitly import this plugin. Back to our prettier RC, we do that, and we paste that, and we're good. Yeah. So now that we've got that, WebStorm should be using Prettier to upgrade or update our app config and stuff. Well, our files, right? So, like if I were to add, I don't know, you say component, and then the other thing we could do is add well, like we could add the common module here, right? Module. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Common module. For imports. So now we've added the common module, and now if I take this out so we don't reference it anymore, then Prettier should remove that. And it's not. If I move this here, does Prettier? It does. Okay, never mind. It just needed, I don't know what happened, but we're good. So let's go ahead and get our serve going back again. There we go. And now we can go and get rid of these tabs. And in our modular state, which one did I miss? Let's go back to the console. And it's saying, I wonder which one I missed. got a name here. We've got a name there, 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 and there. Do I have to add a name to the form itself? Uh, so this name will be vehicle info form. Is that my problem? I may have to solve this form issue sooner than later. Well, first thing we can do is take the nested form out and see if that solves part of my issue. Um, no. So take that out. Um, there's the VIN. There's the year. There's the make. The model. Oh, I missed trim. And stock number. That should. So if I put my form back here, we should be good, right? So there we go. Child query result is required, but no value is available. So we've got the form. You child. Is it a view child? I don't remember now. I think it is a view child. We are referencing the variable. And you can see here with view child, you can just reference the variable name from the template. We do have the variable name in the template, except we call it form, not ng form. That's the problem. So the template variable is form. We're assigning the ng form to that form. So that should fix our issue, and it does. But by adding that form, we also broke the grid. But our nested forms are working just fine. And so now our ng form should show, if we look at the values on it, it should show, yeah, there we go. That's what I was expecting before. And this will keep us to just this form. Do we have, we do have the nested form. Okay. So there we go. We've now got a form here that we can use to grab data, or we can set up things on our form. So what we can do is we can just say, hey, yeah, this dot form. And actually, we don't even need to do this. So let's start with what it's got here. Subscribe, we need that. Object is possibly null. It's interesting. Missing one more closing. There we go. So now if we go in and I change this to like 1, 2, 3, 4, we can see that we're getting the whole form, right? So anytime the entire form changes, or anything in the form changes, right? So like if I do 2024, we see that we're getting multiple change detection events here, which we can worry about later, but we are getting an object. Question is, how do we want to get these changes into the store? And value changes right now emits an observable of type any. What I wish we could do well, one thing we can do is change the form options to update on blur. That'll be helpful. That'll cut down on update. It's ng form options equals date on. Oops. Here it's I gotta remember the value changes form from my ng form. It's update on. Yeah. Okay. So here we update on blur. That's going to solve some of our issues. So now when we go in and say we change this to like 2024, we're only going to get the update when the form actually blurs. The other thing we want to do is we added a whole bunch of stuff to the host binding that we want to move to the form. Um, there's that. We can actually take all of this out. And we can say class equals this. Boom. So that should fix our layout issues. And now we've got the spacing that we want. And now we're updating on blur. So like if I refresh, you'll see that if I do 1, 2, 3 here, we only get that one. We're getting we're getting the initial emit on these forms, and that's not what we want. Um, it is the value changes. That we want. Is on init going to be on init? Is that late enough? Because what I want to avoid, no, we're still getting the bindings in place. So we can see it's slowly building up this component here. So well, and we can see why it's logging the form before any of the bindings are happening. Let's go to angular.io. Angular.dev. And component lifecycle. That's the one we want right here. So on init runs first, then on changes do check. So we were doing after view init. So You know what? Let's use after next render. Um, and if we do that, we can actually move this back into the constructor. So here we can actually say, and we no longer need the on init. Instead, what we can do is we just say, hey, after next render, do this for us. And there's some changes coming in 18.1 to after next render and after render that are going to be really cool. That allow you to specify when it happens, and then as it falls through the render, it you can specify what happens when that render, like you can return a value that gets passed into the next render state, which is really cool. See what, man. Because it's just building up this object, and we can see that here that these changes are coming in, and they're building up the object. But that's not what we want to have happen. Like, these changes are helpful, but we don't want to be pushing the same values back into the object. And so I'm trying to push this off the render cycle, but this is where like the lifecycle hooks are helpful. But so like these ones run every time. Maybe we'll try after content init. We'll try after content init. And so here we can just rename this to be ng after content init. And we don't need the after next render anymore. But after next render is a powerful way to put things into the constructor that you might want to wait till after the and it's still building this up. So the bindings haven't applied yet. Because I'm using ng model. Like if I change this to just be value, we still get the issue. See, I don't want this initial data to show up. And so I'm trying to hook in late enough into the trying to hook up late enough in the render cycle that that doesn't happen. But really, we could go for some idempotent. Dotverse. I'm intentionally not using the banana in the box, right? And the reason for that is we're driving the display value from our store, but um, but the updates we want to decouple from the display value because we want to pass the updates in through the form, and or in we want the store to handle the updates because it would allow us to do logic, vehicle logic. Or um, wish I could make that error go away. I need to fix that, but it's not super important right now. And I just remembered I need to go in and stage that, and stage that, and added helpers to prettier. Um, so we want to decouple the updating of our model from the form itself. The form really just becomes for display purposes in this point. And so I could probably do away with the ng model altogether. If I did that, it doesn't really give us much. The one thing it would solve, Dotverse, is the banana in the box thing you're talking about, right? Where you're saying that we want to bind like this, and we could do this. We would have to take off the signal, right, to do that. In Angular 18, they added the ability to just bind directly to the signal, but we really want the data to flow, and maybe it's better if I draw this out to show. So if we go to Excalidraw, and let's go down here and let's add. So let's say we've got our form here, right? And this is our form. And let's get rid of this ugly color for now. So here's our form, right? And our form will have data in it and things like that. What we want to do is have our store contain all of our business logic, and our form is just going to be purely for display. And so what we want to do is we want to take from the form, we should be able to go here. And can I not? Is there a way? Anyway, so from the form, we go to the store, right? And then from the store, we would go back to the form. So we make that green, we give it, oh yeah, I just dragged that out, right? And so the data flows like this. And the store, so if we come over here and we just put like, what am I in charge of here, right? Let's go small here, and all I am in charge of is displaying um, values and displaying errors. Um, and then the other thing is capturing changes, right? Um, and then all of these get sent to the store, right? Which is our signal store. And our signal store is in charge of a few things too. Um, so our signal store is in charge of, updating um, or data, right? Um, validating data, um, form state, right? Um, and like business logic, services, things like that, right? So the store is really where most things take place, and the form is really just there to display certain things. We don't have errors in place, and I don't know if I'm going to have time to get errors in place before the conference on Thursday, but we will get this. We will get errors and stuff in place before we put this project away. And so, we've got kind of this flow. Yeah, yeah. It's very, very similar to a Redux flow, where it's unidirectional, but our source of truth is a store. And that's the frustration that I've got right now is I'm not sure because we've got it update on blur. Um, I'm wondering, can I do like if I do ng model options here and I do my update on blur here? Um, Because what I'm trying to avoid is sending these initial values back to the state, right? Because the store is driving this change. So what's happening is the form is initialized and then the bindings happen. And then once those bindings happen, then we send this stuff to the store or to the form. Or when these bindings happen, it's sending a change event back to the form, which makes sense, right? Because without the bindings, the form is empty. And maybe that's the fix. I really want to avoid having the store. So one of the goals of this is to make it simple for other people to use it, right? So one of the things I really want to do is avoid having the store. Um, I don't want to have to bind to the store in the in any code that we do. So let's go back to a constructor here. And we're going to go back to the after next render because we only want it to run once. So we can just say after next render. Um, And I don't want to have to do anything special. I don't want to have to do anything hacky to make this work. And so having these initial events is a little bit frustrating. Because, well, let's continue on. So it'll show you kind of what we're doing, right? Um, so let's go to the store, right? And inside of the store, we've got our state, but we can also add our with. Okay, we froze. We really froze. Is this the parse? Oh, okay. WebStorm is not happy. ESLint parser options. Yeah, WebStorm is just completely frozen. It wants parser options.project. NX configure parser options. Configuring ESLint with TypeScript. I thought I could ignore that, but it doesn't look like it. Let's look in here for parser options. There we go. So the await thenable. Yeah, we're getting that error. So we need to add this to our ESLint rc.json and only to the projects that need it. Yeah, WebStorm is just dead. It doesn't want anything to do with me. So we'll go ahead and kill it. Okay. So I think we can just add this to the specific library. So let's go ahead and launch WebStorm again. We will avoid that error is pretty serious. Now we know that we will avoid modifying anything until we've got that in place. So the vehicle info store. So this is in, if we hover over this, well, and actually we can just go. It's fine. Those are all fine. So edit ESLint RC. So yeah, it found the right one for us. And here if we go look at NX again, it gets added to the one that has the rule in it. Um, so I believe there's the HTML. Which one has, is it the ESLint rc.base? No, it's just this one. So I think this one is the one where we added the NGRX all. And so here's the one that we needed in. So if we add the parse options, it doesn't make sense to add it here. Um, oh, that's interesting. Can I use the project or their NX variables? So TypeScript programs, ESLint RC, parser objects.project. What's the rule that's causing the issue? The other thing is the rule. Come on, stay in place. So NGRX with state no arrays at root level. So let's go take a look at that rule. NGRX with state no arrays. That's the one. Okay. That's a good rule. So the next thing to do is NX project variables. So project variables ESLint RC. Because what I want to do is I want to be able to just grab the yeah, like target name. But these, so if we go take a look at like a project.json, right? Inside of here, we've got, oh, these are actually pointing straight to the project.json. What about nx.json? So inside of here, we've got like project root, right? And I wonder if I can use project root in my ESLint RC. So let's see if I can do that. So what if I do project root, and I don't know if this will be interpreted at all. I don't think it will because this is interpreted by ESLint and not by NX, but maybe it is NX run many lint. We'll see if the linter works. And it's things like these that just, yeah. Hey, Akon Sami, it has been a good while. Thank you for showing up. Conference is on Friday. Is it on Friday? Do I keep saying Thursday and it's on Friday? I'm happy if I've got another day. Um, you're right. The 28th is Friday. Um, I've been saying Thursday the whole time. I apologize for that, you guys. It is Friday. Thank you, Marcus, for that. So yeah, TinyConf is on Friday. So I've got an extra day. Yay. That's a big help. Yeah. TypeScript file overrides block of your ESLint config. And so that's a bit rough, but oh well. We're just gonna have to know. Um, what if I disable that rule? Overrides. And inside of here, oh, we're already inside of an overrides. Never mind. We don't need the overrides. We can just say that we want our rules. We're going to add the at ngrx slash, I don't want to dig into this too much, and I just don't, I don't know. We'll worry about it later, but I need to be able to work on code. So I've broken this. What was the rule called? I can find it here. With state no arrays at root level. If I just copy this. And we're going to disable this for right now. We're going to say that this is off. That should So now if I go lint, that should fix this issue. Now our linters should all pass. No. Okay, so we're failing on no empty function. That's good. We've got another one that requires it. What's the new one that's requiring it? Okay, no, we've just got the empty function, right? Yeah. And we can fix this by um, I really wish I didn't have to just throw in a mutate here. But there we go. Now it's disabled. Now our linter should run. And I was able to modify the store, which is good. Yeah, so now we're good. So let's go back and serve this. Okay, so now we can get back into what I wanted to do. And I can show you what, oh, it was the model. I haven't tried to modify the store yet, but the error is gone. That's a good sign. So here we should be able to say with methods, boom. And in our methods, now we can say that we have state, boom, and we'll return some methods. So one of the first methods that we can add is our update. And our update is going to be an RX method. And it's going to take a the vehicle info state is of type vehicle. So we can say that this is going to be a partial vehicle. And we need to import vehicle then. And so now that we've got an RX method, now we can say, hey, we'll get the updates, right? So we can say update dot type. That right? Am I doing this right? Let me look at RX method. The signature on RX method. So it's a function. Yeah, that's right. So it's update. And then we do update dot pipe. And now we're in a good state to be able to do our updates, right? So one of the things we can do is we can do a tap here, and we can say, hey, these are our updates. And inside of our updates, let's just console.log that. So this should give us an idea of what I'm talking about. So anytime that we would go update the model, we're going to log it for right now. And now what we can do is we can go back to our component. You know what? I'm going to close a lot of this stuff. It's cluttering. That looks good. doesn't like my store. Your make model. That's interesting. Saying signal store props, but here it's just a state object. I'm not sure. Are we getting compiler errors right now? We aren't. It just might be because I added the methods to the store, things might not be behaving as expected. So now what we can do is we don't need these on changes anymore. What we can do instead is we can say this.store.update. And because we made it an RX method, we can say this.form value changes. And it's complaining because it's saying, hey, null is not assignable to an observable. You are totally correct. So one thing we can just say is we can just say, hey, if this dot form value changes, and this might not work until we get to TypeScript 5.5, which is true, because it looks at this call as being different every time, but we can extract this to a variable. Introduce variable, replace two occurrences, and yep, value changes. Yeah, and we can go to const here. And we don't need the typing on it. So there we go. So what we did is we just took this, this is null or an observable. If we have a value, then we pass that observable into the store.update. And that's the really cool thing about using like signal store, and component store had the same thing. You didn't have to actually do an RX method. I think most effects and updaters were already written this way. But with signal store, if you just pass in an RX method, this method can now take a single value, or it can take an observable. So it can take a bunch of different things to update. So now if we go take a look and we go back to our form, there we go. So we can see that we're getting these updates over and over and over again, which is what I wanted to avoid. Because I'm concerned that we'll crash the browser if I do this. So what we can do is we can say, hey, state.update. And here's a good reason why. Or that's not what I want to do actually. Update. Why am I drawing a blank on this? My brain is trying to figure out some other problems in the background, but that's okay. Because if we go to ngrx.io, I'm going to remind myself how to do it and feel really silly when I couldn't remember how to do it. So here's our signal store. There's our initial state with state. Inject that. I don't want that. Ah, patch state, patch state. That's what you wanted. So yeah, now we can just say, hey, we want to patch the state. So let's import that. Yeah, that's what I asked for. Okay, there we go. That was weird. It wouldn't patch it for me. And so what we can do is we can say, hey, we want to patch the state. Oh, can I do this? Um, so patch state takes the store. Um, and then it takes a function that returns everything. And these are the same thing. They just renamed it for whatever reason. Um, but so state can return partial or the whole thing, or, but I'm concerned. So signal state has, is the store uses signal state underneath. So we've got patch state, but I'm really curious, like if I do state and then I do create from that and I do state comma draft, boom, and inside of here, we just want to return. I don't want to spread the object though. Um, we may have to forgo. Oh, it's already using signals too. We definitely don't want that. So that is not the same thing. So this is definitely a store here, which means this is definitely a store, which means that we want state here. And that state is now going to be a draft. Yeah, there we go. And so this is where we want to look at mutative JS. And so spread operators can actually be slow, and that's interesting. I haven't seen this one before. The reduce anti-pattern. Interesting. I need to take a look at this and just see. I want to read through that after the stream, but for right now, what we want to do does apply to. So we create the draft. Oh, it's with the enable patches. Yeah, I think we're going to get rid of mutative for now. We'll figure it out later. I don't know that I've got the time to do it, so that's okay. We will take out the create call here. Which means we also don't need this. And the reason that was an error is that because of the implicit semicolons in JavaScript. The other thing we can do is we can refactor this to, can I not turn this into just a field parameter extract method interface? That's not what I want. But I should be able to just do this and that and that and get rid of that and that and equal sign and const. There we go. So it should behave the same. So the other thing we want to do is just take mutative out of here. And then we can just do patch state this. And because we can return partials, we can just say updates, I believe. And I don't even think we need the state anymore. I believe this should work. And the way to see if this works is to go into our component really quick. And we could do it a couple of different ways. But probably the way that I prefer to do it is I just like to do a protected read-only log equals, and we can just do a get state function. And here we can just do this dot store. So we get the state from the store. So now log is just an object that has year, make, model, trim. And then under the form, all we need to do is we can just say, hey, we can do a pre-tag here. And yep, that's exactly what I want to do. Oh, come on. There we go. So now we've got our log in here. And so now if we go take a look at our form, in our modular state, so one of the things I was concerned about was an infinite loop. It looks like we don't have that. Thank you for the follow. Evil Yogurt, great name. Thank you for the follow. But the other thing we can do is just pull that up so that we don't introduce all the extra stuff. Prettier reformats it differently. That's fine. So here we go. We've got our year, make, model, right? And so if I come in here and I change this to a 2024 and we change it, we are not getting the patch. Why is my patch not going through? So we're updating the vehicle with these values. And there's the 2024 there. And our patch state in our store returned our updates. So let's go make sure that I'm doing everything correct. That's not the one we want. This is the one. So yeah, that should work. Within our signal store, we're just defining again patch state. We got the store. We grabbed the state. Oh, oh, oh. You guys probably saw it. Get state here is on the store, right? This isn't updating. Get state only runs once. When the store updates, and we want it to get the state every time the state changes. We've got a problem. That's why it's not updating. I'm trying to remember what I did in the like. We do computed. Is this going to work? Now I should be able to just say, hey, boom. Now we're using the signal. Yeah, feel free to chime in anytime you want, Evil Yogurt. I appreciate the thought. And yeah, you guys were probably ahead of me. So it's still working, but now with the computed, if I change it to 2024, we see that we're getting 2024, right? So if we do like a forward focus, and SE and A like B003, we can see that we're now getting the changes. The big concern that I had was that we would get into an infinite loop with this original stuff here. The good thing is that even though like using signal store, it's a bit smarter, but the other benefit we've got here is that signals only emit when they change, right? We can test that out. So we can say, hey, I've got protected, or let's just do read only. We'll call this our test signal. Equals signal. And we'll set this to test, right? And we'll grab our test signal here. That was not what I wanted. So there we go, test signal, right? And then here in the constructor, what we can do is we can just do an effect. And we can say console.log test signal. changed, right? And then boom, we read our test signal. And then we can do a couple of things, right? We can say this dot test signal dot set, and let's just set it to test, like, I don't know, 10 times, I don't know. And then I don't even know how many times that is, but now we can set it to test 2 and do a few times. And then that should be good, right? That should show us, how many times it's emitting. And notice that we only get test signal once and test 2 once. And so this is the huge benefit to using signals also, is that they only emit, or not even emit, but they only raise the hey, I've changed flag, kind of. If you guys have watched the Deborah Kurata video on signals, she has a really good one, and one of her ideas is, or one of the ways that she teaches about signals, is that when you call set changes the signal, but it doesn't cause change detection to run. It instead raises a flag saying, hey, I've changed. And then when Angular runs change detection, it looks at that signal, oh, this one's changed, so let's change it, right? So effect looks at that flag too, basically, right? Or the little light or something, right? I think she visualizes it as a light. But basically, when you set a signal, it changes immediately. But it also raises, it raises something that notifies everything else that, hey, that signal's changed. If it changes from the same value to the same value, then it never, turns on that light, raises that flag, whatever, right? That never happens. So my initial concern is not a big deal. And in fact, we can change our VIN. And since we don't have validation, I can just add a bunch of 4s to everything, and everything works. We'll come back and we'll get validation and pretty stuff in here later. Great. So we've got one form, and it's a more difficult way to handle a form, and it doesn't do any composition, right? Like, we can't put this together with anything else. Our state is tied specifically to this form, and I haven't accomplished anything. So let's go accomplish something. I need a drink. I've been talking for like 2 hours. Let's start with let's create another form. And this form will be vehicle details. So let's go clean up a bunch of the stuff that we've done for logging. We can take out this effect, which means we don't need this signal. How can you tell me my constructor has no usages? That's funny. We don't need this, which means we can take out this. And we're in a good place. There we go. Oh, let's also go into the store itself. We're going to take this out. I'm realizing that I've never used immutable state with a signal store. That's something that we may have to look at in the future. Like, how would you use immutable state with signal store? It might require hacking signal store a little bit. So that's definitely something we can look at later. But that should have removed all of our stuff. So yeah, we aren't logging, we aren't doing a whole bunch of other stuff. We're in a good state. So hey, thanks for joining. And yeah, feel free. I'll be streaming probably tomorrow night, probably Tuesday night. And then Wednesday and Thursday, I'm going to be finishing up the slides, and then I'll be speaking about what we're doing on Friday. I'm probably going to go another hour. Um, I just want to get two forms in place, so that we can kind of talk about the issues that we've got, right? But let's get this all added. So the ESLint um, disabled rule requiring project name. I didn't want to deal with it because we're going to be moving stores around. So spoiler, we're going to be moving stores around. So we added some form stuff here, but really, oh, I've still got a console log in on the form itself. Let's go fix that. Yeah. So there we go. That's good. I mean, the other thing we could do, if we don't want to add this, we can tell store.update that it takes a partial vehicle for null. And so inside of here, what we can do is we can just say, hey, we're going to filter out null updates. Yep, we'll grab that. And here we can say filter value and not value. And this should work because it doesn't work. But this should work. Right? Oh, did it call this out specifically? So the new TypeScript changes. TypeScript lang.org. The 5.4, right? There were wire import. So the more accurate conditional. Am I thinking about 5.5? Is it in 5.5? Inferred? Yes, it is. Dang it. Oh. So we're on 5.4 in Angular. 18.1 gives us 5.5. In 5.5, what I just did should work, but there is here. So in 5.5, so in 5.4, this is an error, right? Saying that it's possibly undefined, even though we filtered out everything that is undefined. In 5.5, it will work. So what we can do how do we want to handle this? Right now, what we'll do, we can say if updates equals null. And in TypeScript, well, in ES script, this is one of the few times where I'll do a double equals because I want a nullish check. So I want it to catch null or undefined. When you do double equals null, you're only going to get the nullish values. So we can test this out too, right? So if we go here and we do, null double equals null, that's true, right? Null double equals undefined, that's true. Oops. That's true. Null double equals empty, right? So that's a falsy value. Null double equals 0. That's also falsy, right? And what is an empty array falsy? No. Is an empty object falsy? No. So anyway, we've got our falsy values here, and it's not catching any of our, our falsy empty string or 0. But if we do a not empty string, we get false, right? Not 0 is false. So we know that it's only going to match null and undefined, and that's what we want. We want the nullish values. And that's the one case where I say you should always use a double equals. So we're going to do a patch state. And we're going to do store. And we're just going to return an empty store. And it's going to complain about this. So we're going to tell it, hey, don't complain about this. And it doesn't like that because, it's no longer going to complain about this. But basically, what we've done is we've said, hey, if you get null, just wipe out the store. And actually, I don't like that. We're just going to return. If we want to wipe out the store, we'll call a reset on it. I don't want to wipe it out. So value changes. And now it's this dot form dot value changes, and now it all works again. So what we did is we took the and this is something I like to do for just developers in general. When I write code, I like to take the cognitive load out of what they're doing. If we go take a look at what we changed from and to, I changed it before we did the, that's okay. We'll stage all changes, and we gave ability to update store. We'll go ahead and push that, but we can actually use WebStorm, and we can look at the file history. If we look at the local history, can I compare to local histories? There we go. And I'm particularly interested in this. So if we look, what we did over here is we were initially grabbing the value changes off of the form, but because that could be null or an observable, we were running a check here, right? This is cognitive overhead for our developers, and it winds up being a bunch of boilerplate. Um, our new fix, where we took the store and we just allow us to pass in null or whatever, right, works much better because, and I'm sorry about the coffee. It works much better because now the developer, all they have to know is that we just pass in the form changes. Um, we could simplify this some more, but I don't want to go more than this because the store shouldn't know where the data is coming from. So the store should know, hey, I have the ability to update myself, and if I update, I can get an observable of updates, or I can get a partial vehicle, or I can get a null value. If it's a null value, we don't do anything with it. Otherwise, we just use those updates to update the store. So if we get everything, it's going to update everything. If we only get part of it, it will patch it with just that part. So it's only going to change the stuff that we updated. In the future, we'll look at doing deltas because I've been reading some interesting articles, and it reminded me of something we did at Brazier's, where we started using deltas to make changes to the data. And there were some powerful abilities there. And so I would like to do the same thing, and we can go to deltas, which will give us history and all sorts of cool stuff. But definitely not something I want to get done before the conference. I just want to get a couple of things in place to show what we can do, and then once those things are in place, then then the streams after I get back from Australia will be finishing this idea out and building an application. The ultimate goal is to build a drag and drop application that, as you drag and drop it, gives you live access to data and potentially giving people the ability to change their workflows in real time. Which sounds crazy, but I've got some ideas, and we'll see just how much we can do and what we can accomplish. Because it's been a while since I've done like dynamic form creation and stuff like that. Well, in dynamic, just dynamic interfaces. So I've got some new ideas that I've been working on for a while, and I want to get them down to prove if they're good or not. But anyway, time to add some new stuff. So we've got our vehicle info component. Let's add a new, and let's use NX to generate this. And we want a new library. So every single one of these things that can be modular needs to live in its own library. And that's an important part of this. So here we go. Now we're into our library. I wish I could turn this off, but I get why it's there. So the name of this library, we'll call this the vehicle, we'll call it the details maybe. Vehicle details feels a little bit weird. What I'm thinking about is like the color, the trim, tinted windows. Maybe we add the license plate. Things like that. And so we tie it all together using the VIN, because a VIN is a unique identifier across the system. And yeah, that would be like the key that ties everything together. But I'm trying to come up with a good name for that stuff. Right now, we'll call it details. And like the names for these things get argued over constantly. So right now it's going to put that in lib components, vehicle details, source lib, vehicle detail component. And if we look here, we made this one flat, I believe. Did we? Yeah, we did make it flat. So we'll make it flat also. Publishable routing, we're not going to worry about any of that. No module spec, no tailwind, change detection, on push by default, display block on by default, flat, we want it to be flat. The import path is going to be so I believe what we've been doing is mod state slash, and this will be vehicle.details. And I'm using the dot because I went into it before, but at work we've had an RFC. I need to get myself used to it. Selector, and actually, I think this is modular state. And it's the selector that we've been doing mod state with. So we do mod dash state on our selector here. And this will be mod dash state dash vehicle dash details. And this is the parser options project stuff that it wants to turn on. I'm curious, I'm going to turn this on and then I'm going to turn it off. I want to see what ESLint does with it. Simple name, don't care. We're going to skip tests actually. And the reason for that is that with our components, we want component tests, and with our stores, we want unit tests. So we don't want spec.ts files for the component that it's going to create. Standalone yes, strict yes, CSS yes, tags. Again, this is going to be a library, and then I think screen was the other one. We'll go and talk about tags after, but we want to get those set up. View encapsulation. The reason you use tags in NX is you can control what can be imported where. And view encapsulation, we're fine, and standalone config, yes. And so it's going to put it where we want it to have it. We'll go ahead and generate this. And there we go. So we've generated that. We can turn this off. And now if we go look at our vehicle details, we've got a whole bunch of stuff. I do want to modify the ESLint. So, okay. So it does add the parser options just right here. Yeah. We're not going to do that. Do we have any other parser options? Parser dash options. Okay. So we've pulled out the parser options. I just wanted to see how it did it. It's using a direct path, and that makes sense because of ESLint. Let's go ahead, go to NX, and here we're just going to stage everything that's added. So in the nx.json, there were no changes. In the tsconfig, it did add the vehicle.details, great. So we added vehicle details component. And the reason that we're putting these into libraries is to give us better tree shaking capabilities as we build these up. But it also allows us to keep things separated so that our modularity works better. So there we go. We've now got vehicle details. We can close all tabs. And in our vehicle details, we want to go in and modify our library. So we can take this out right now. Great, we've got this, that's fine. Change detection on push. Great, so we need a store. We're gonna add a directory, and inside of our directory, we're gonna call our directory state. And we need two things, right? So we need our model. So we're gonna add a TypeScript file, and this is our vehicle dash details dot model dot ts, and the dot model dot ts is just a convention that I use, and we're going to export type vehicle details from here, and again, kind of the foreign key or the ID is the VIN, so that's a string. From here, we don't want make model, we want color, and that will be a string. We want engine, and for now that will be a string. Oh yeah, fuel type's great. Tinted windows, sure, we'll make that a Boolean. Sunroof, sure. Heated seats, sure. Nav, sure. And that should be good for now, right? That's actually going to require us to create a new type. We'll do that short, or not a new type, but it's going to require us to create a new input. We'll do that as part of this in the future. The other thing we need to do is very similar to what we did with the model. We want to create a default state and an injection token. So we'll do the same. So we're going to say export const default state equals boom, right? And sure. Those all look good. We're good with that. I guess the one thing I should do is make sure that this bin matches. For now, we'll do some work on this in the future. But yeah, those bins match. Great. And then the last thing we want to do is export. Yep. We'll grab that injection token. And inside of here, we can add a factory. Default state. And that should work. What did I do wrong here? Oh, I forgot the description. So if we go out here to the end, yep, now it works. There we go. So one thing I want to do, and I haven't done it yet because I haven't taken the time to learn it, but I want to use ng extensions. And so we'll get into that too. But now we've got our state. So the next thing we want to do is just provide the vehicle details store. And TypeScript file. And this will be our vehicle dash details dot store. There we go. So now we've got all of that, and so now we're just going to export const And this is our vehicle detail store equals, and we're not going to create a store feature yet. You're jumping the gun. We're going to create signal store. No. It's just signal store. So signal store. And inside of here, we need to add state to it. So with state, and it's just inject vehicle detail state. And we need to import both of these. That one. And close that. And so now we've got our state. The other thing we know that we're going to need is we're going to need with methods, and we're going to grab our store. And we know we're going to need an update method. So we're going to add update. And our update is going to be an RX method. We know that. And yes, it's already picking things up for us. So let's import RX method. Let's import vehicle details. We need to import tap. And we need to import patch state. And now we're good to go. So we've got a simple state that we can use that has things like color, engine size, things like that. So let's go ahead and commit this. So we added vehicle details, model, and store. So we're ready for that. So now what we want to do, and we can go get the app component. And inside of here, we just want a mod state vehicle details. So now we've got it. And we'll start to see some issues here in a second. But okay. I'm going to leave this. There's a problem that I'm foreseeing, and that's why I got silent there for a second. There's definitely a problem that I see with this, but I'm going to leave it for now so we can talk about the problem instead of solving it when it doesn't make a lot of sense. So now if we go take a look at our application, we can see that we've got the vehicle details and it works, right? Great. Awesome. That kind of sucks, but we can fix that. So we need to go take a look at the component itself. Oh, that's the CSS file. Like, no, you're not empty. Here we go. So here's our vehicle details. We need to grab a couple of things, right? First thing we need is we need a protected, and this will be our store equals inject our vehicle detail store. Let's pull these in. What am I doing? Oops. There's inject, and there's my vehicle detail store. But if I save this, we're going to get a null injector error, right? Because I'm not providing it anywhere. So we need to make sure that we put that in the providers array. So there we go. We've now provided the vehicle detail store. And now everything displays again. So let's get some vehicle detail stuff in place. The first thing we know we need to do is add our form. And we want to say that our form is our ng form. Great. And we're going to get our closing form here. But it's telling us, hey, you can't do that because you don't have a forms module. So great. We know we need the forms module. Import that. So now we've got that in place. The other thing we can do is add our class. This is going to be flex, flex dash call, gap dash 2. And that works. Great. So there's our form. And now we want our label, right? And this is where we add our mod state input, right? There we go. We need to import the directive. And then inside of here, we need our input. So it will be a type equal. Well, did we even add the type to the other one? I'm curious about that now. I think I did. Yeah, I did. So go ahead and minimize this. And so it's a type text. We aren't going to have the VIN as an input. We don't need it. When you use the form to house your state, a lot of times you would have to add hidden inputs for like VINs and things like that. We don't need it because it's just part of our store. So the first thing we want is name equals color. And then we're going to do our ng model. And it's just going to equal store.color. And I don't know why it's complaining about this now. Because if we look, store has color on it. Here, store has color, but now it complains. And I really think it has to do, like if I take this update method off, so if we just comment out with methods, and I save that, and now we go back, it knows what it is. And so I'm not sure what is causing the with methods. What about with methods is causing that? I think it has probably to do with the way. So the store comes back as type this. If I do that, and the store comes back as type that. It's got a signal state on it. It's probably the difference of the signal state. I don't know. I'm not really sure what the difference is. But we've got the type color. And I'm trying to remember. I really think this is all we need. Text. Oh no, we had placeholder. Um, equals vehicle color. So there we go. One other thing we want to do is we want the ng form options be update on blur. And I'm a Gen Xer, so anytime I hear blur, I hear their one hit wonder of the woohoo. So you guys can all thank me if you know what I'm talking about, as that's in your head now. Um, so this will now be the ng module for the engine text. Yeah, so we'll leave that. Fuel type, great. And no, we don't want the VIN. Or dot, and this is kind of where it's getting frustrating because we've got engine, so tinted windows. Oh, that's why. Um, this needs to be a Boolean. Um, so um, so this will be store.tinted windows. Boom. And here we're going to say, oh, you know what? I put all of these inside of the same label. That's kind of stupid of me. So here got our label, mod state input, and the other thing I didn't do is I didn't actually put the label text inside of here. So this is our color. This is our engine. And here we can use surround with, and we're going to do label. Boom. We don't need the 4, but whatever. And this is our fuel type. And then here we have one more label. And this one winds up being, okay, thanks. That works great. And so let's take a look at our tinted windows label, because we're going to need to fix this up. So we can already see we've got a little bit of an issue with the color being right on top of things. But because we did our inputs the way we did, our fuel type we didn't do correctly. Oh, yeah. This needs to be mod state input on this one, mod state input on that one. And now if we go back, right, we've got our fuel type in here and everything looks how it should. One thing we could do is inside of our app components, in our app component.css, we could do form not first child. Actually, yeah, we can do this. That's fine. We can do just an add apply. And we can do margin top -2. Great. And that should work. It's not gonna lie. Oh, we don't need margin top. It's just add apply. There we go. So that's going to add in our spacing. The other thing we could do is on our app components, here the class container, we could also do padding 2. That's just going to get it off the edges. So there we go. Now things look a little bit better. Our tinted windows looks weird. So we need to fix that. We can flip it around, but what I want to do is we'll take a look at our Daisy UI. And inside of here, go ahead and close this. And we want a checkbox. So here are the checkboxes. They've got a bunch of different checkboxes. So it looks like they want to put the span in a label text. Interesting. And it does look like their design is to do it out to the side. So we'll do the same. So this HTML, so we just add the label, and the cursor pointer is nice. If you don't do the cursor pointer, then we can see in ours, like you can click here or here, but it doesn't show anything. So we could do the same in ours. So we need to create a new component, or not a new component, but a new directive. So in our shared UI directive or directory, we're going to go into our inputs. We're going to add a new directive using NX. We're going to add a directive. Our directive is going to be called checkbox. And it's going to put it in inputs checkbox. Inputs checkbox. And I think we're good there. One thing we're going to do is we're going to skip the tests. We'll look at the look at the we'll look at the directive soon. Actually, this should just be mod state checkbox. We're going to skip our tests, standalone, flat, project name, got it, generate, and we're good. So now that we've generated that, we've added our checkbox directive. Let's go and make some modifications to it. Got our mod state checkbox. One thing we can do is we can say, hey, this only targets checkboxes. And I actually think, oh no, it only targets labels. That's right, labels. Mod state checkbox. We don't need this constructor because really all we're going to do is we're going to add our host and our class is going to be checkbox and then cursor dash pointer. And that should, once we add this to our vehicle details component, here, we should be able to say that this is a mod state checkbox. That wasn't exported, I don't think. Like if I try to import this, yeah. So like, I can't add checkbox directive here, can I? Yeah, it's importing it from the wrong place. We don't want this import. So we're going to go back to our checkbox directive. Inside of here, we're going to go find our index.ts, and we just need to tell it, hey, export star from /inputs checkbox directive, and boom. Now we're good to go back to our components, and now we should be able to import that. Yep, and we're good. And so now our checkbox component should look better. Not really. What did we do wrong? Let's go take a look at our Daisy UI. For our checkbox component, type equals checkbox, check equals class equals checkbox. So we have to be a little bit tricky here. Because like with our other inputs, right? The text input, the way we did it, we did have to add the class grow. So with our checkbox, to make this work, so our label is label cursor pointer. We may need to make that label text, but we also need any input inside of there to get the class checkbox. So we need to go to our styles.css. And here, input, this should really only be input type text. I believe that should work, and that should keep the grow. And one thing we can do is just like SCSS, we can do that. And then here we can also do end type equals, and here we're going to say checkbox. We're going to say at apply checkbox. So there we go. I'm not sure that I like this, but we'll see how it goes. We may come up with a different way to do it after the conference. Yeah, this is still not right. So we've got that cursor. See, the other thing we can do is this. Am I inside of an input? An input inside of an input. That's the first thing to look at. So here, inspect this. So I'm an input. Oh, no, I'm not. It's dot checkbox input. So that's part of it. So here, this becomes dot checkbox. And we can grab this, move it here. And let's go to prettier. And forgot CSS and SCSS here. Apply, okay. Save. Format with prettier. There we go. So now if we go take a look, oh, this is input. We need that. And we need that. So I thought I saw something change out of the corner of my eye with the chat, but I didn't. Checkbox class, but it's working here, not here. Why does this work and this doesn't? Dot checkbox input type equals checkbox at apply checkbox. We take out the nesting. Oh, no, that's right. Oh. That's interesting. The reason it's saying it can't do that um, is because if we go take a look, the Daisy stuff, right? Um, oh wait, no, this is class equals label, cursor pointer, label text. Check. Oh. So I've got problems here too. This can just be checkbox directive. This is just label. And what we may do is automate some of this to make it so that we aren't having to use as much custom CSS, but that should work, right? So that worked, and that worked, and there we go. So this winds up being nice because now our stuff's out at the end. One thing we should take a look at doing is like the CSS um, content pseudo element. Yeah, so you can add. Actually, I wonder, can I just add the label text here? If I do label dash text, what does that do? Because I want to make sure that my label has the proper text on it, or the proper text styling. If I inspect this, because I've got labeled text, I'm getting a smaller font size, and it's giving it a different color. Not really, but there we go. So now we've got our tinted windows in place. Um, and because we did that, we can add all of our other stuff to our form. Let's see. I wanted to go commit some stuff before I go too far. So, form styling. We're good there. App component.ts. Add padding and details. styles.scss. So that one's going to go with this one, and we added so mod state checkbox. There we go. And then the vehicle details component, we're good here. So we're going to add the rest. There's some stuff I want to do with like alignment based on container sizes and things like that, but we'll worry about that after. The point of the talk is to talk about modular components and state. So let's go ahead and finish this up. And we'll get it all editing and everything, and then from there I'll probably end the stream there. So label, yep, and then sunroof. Yep, and oh yeah, we don't need a placeholder on our, so label, heated seats, and then yeah, that's all of them. So now we've got everything in place. So the last thing we need to do is just add kind of our boilerplate around updating the form. So let's go ahead and protected log equals computed, and pull that in, and then we can just use get state and this dot store. Great. And it needs to be a function that returns that. There we go. And for the current thing, oh, I saw it. There's our JSON pipe. And so now if we take a look, we've got our form down here, but notice that if I turn sunroof on or off, nothing's happening. Same with heated seats. And you know, none of this stuff. We make it red. Nothing changes. What happened here? Shouldn't this form have a padding top? Did I break that? If I go to styles CSS, no, it's in the app component. And it's in the SCSS for this. The CSS. So form not first child. I'll worry about it later. I want to make sure that we get functionality done. So there is a little bit extra to do here. In our component, we need to get a reference to the form. So protected form equals, and we're going to use a form query. And this is going to be an ng form. We're going to grab the form. Boom. We'll import that. There we go. So now we've got our form, and then in our constructor, we can just say after next render that we want to run some code. So once the form's all put together and after it's rendered, we can just say this.store.update and value changes. And we need to read this. There we go. So at this point, we've now added our form, and we can start to see the shape that's starting to take place, right? And we're able to rapidly put forms together, but that one's working. Oh, so we want to make sure that our changes on these happen on change instead of on blur, because we want our updates to happen right away with checkboxes. And we'll figure it out later, but we can just say ng model changes from ng model change. Update on change. And it's not model change. I think I'm missing options, right? ng form options, ng model options, not change. There we go. And we'll figure out a way to make this change in the future. So that's a checkbox, that's a checkbox, that's a checkbox. Those are all text. Okay. So now if we go back and I change this, we can see that the sunroof is changing down there. And if we go look at our console, well, I didn't add any console logs, but our debugging is showing that things are working as intended. And our color, we can change that to red, and V16, or we could even just say hybrid engine. So we could say hybrid electric slash V4, or it could be an i4, who knows, right? And then fuel type, gasoline or diesel. So there we go. We can see that we're able to do a lot of stuff with our inputs. Oh wait, no, the color is right on top of the stock number. But we've put together two forms nested inside of another form. So how do we save this stuff? And we haven't composed anything yet. We haven't looked at what would we do if we want to move across different things, but we've at least got two forms. There's one last form I want to put together. It's not really a form, it's kind of an update. But I've actually gone pretty long already. So I'm gonna call it here. I need to go let my legs rest, let my brain rest a little bit. Um, but yeah, we've got two forms that we can put together in a couple of different interesting ways, and see how they interact with each other. So that will be the next thing. I want to put together kind of like if we put them all together in one form, how do we handle it? If we put them together in like a wizard form, how do we handle it? And where do we put the state, and how do we know where the state belongs? Lots of fun things like that. Um, yeah, we are in a good place, and I think we're ready to start doing custom feature stores, signal store features, custom signal store features, um, because that's what's going to be our next piece, is the signal store features between these two. And maybe we'll only use two because that proves our point, and then we can build out the application, proving our point even more after the conference. But I want to make sure that I get all the code in place so that I can share, insights at the conference and share the application working and how it works. But after that, I definitely want to dig in and show, what would we do if we made this a real application, and how would that work? Yeah, thank you everybody for being here. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you tomorrow night when we pick this up again, and actually look at integrating these in a couple of different ways, and what that means from a modular standpoint, and you know how do we handle different things. So